Try to get started again. This is the video for October 6th, 2016. And the title is Accomplices of Evil. Evil is the violation of moral law. It does not simply exist in our world. It runs the show. Accomplices are those who, seeing a crime, do nothing. Each of us has a moral obligation to at least speak up about the criminality of our world. That criminality exists because we fail to fulfill that moral obligation. People get upset with me when I lay the blame on God. And some insist that we are gods. That's true, to a point. That moral obligation applies to us for sure. Yet who is really in control? Among sentient beings, free will ends where another's begins. No one, not demons or humans, has a right to violate that standard. Each of us, and especially God, has a personal responsibility to play whatever role we can in stopping the blatant criminality rampant on our planet. Are you listening, God? Silence is consent. As long as I have breath, I will not be silent. Indeed, I'm not sure exactly what the future holds. There's the threat of a major hurricane coming up the coast of Florida, 30 miles off the coast, and they're anticipating significant flooding with 4 to 6 inches of rainfall in one day. And the home where I'm staying with my son, he tells me that when they have significant rainfall, it comes in along the outside perimeter of the house. And so I've got to make sure that there's nothing that can be damaged by water on the floor around the outside walls. And I don't know, I've never experienced that before. I've never been in a place that floods, but apparently this one does. So that's something that I have to take care of. And if power goes out, I don't know when I will be able to record another video. But I wrote this blurb actually in the middle of the night. And I woke up and I wrote it down because it was on my mind. And I thought, well, if I don't write it down, I'll forget about it. So I got up and I turned on the computer and I wrote it down. Actually, I didn't turn on the computer. The computer's always on. But in any case, this is something that I have wrestled with, this Accomplices of Evil topic, and the idea that the ultimate responsibility falls on God has been a recurring theme for me this entire year since my home was stolen in February. And it bothers me because I always believed basically the Christian doctrines for the most part. And although I always explored other spiritual traditions, I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket, as they say. And so I have made it a point throughout my life to explore at least the major religions, and I have attended services and meetings in various religions, or in the case of Muslims. I've never actually been to a Muslim service per se, but I've had the Muslim imam come to my home on several occasions and give lectures, much to the chagrin of some of the people that participated in my meetings at the time. They didn't like that at all because there's been a lot of propaganda of pitting religions against each other and using people of different religions as the scapegoats. And that, to me, that whole principle is evil in its very face, because it pits one religion against another and puts the ego on a high pedestal where rational thought goes out the window, and we don't think about what we're actually believing. We don't think about what we're doing. We don't think about the control mechanisms that have been placed upon us, and we end up being entrapped in a world and in a system that we live in now, where the worst possible elements have risen to the top and are in control of the world. And the United States, founded on beautiful principles, beautiful principles. Yes, they messed up with the Native Americans. I agree with that. And that needs to be stopped. And Indians need to be put on an equal pedestal with white Caucasians or black Africans or yellow Asians or whatever the nationality is, whatever the color of the skin is. We are equal. We are not, there's no superior race. There's no superior type of people. That whole idea apparently came from Adam's sin. And God, in his loving graciousness, has allowed humanity to pay the penalty of Adam's sin, even though it occurred a long time ago. It's not just to the third and fourth generation. The sins of the father shall be visited unto the children of the third and fourth generation, which in itself is unjust. I mean, that is unjust. Nobody should have to pay the penalty for somebody else's sin. That is an insanity. That is an absolute crime against common sense and against life itself. I mean, it just blows my mind that I ever bought into that BS. And that's what it is. It's bullshit. And, you know, we have to get above that, folks. We have to get above that. We have to be able to understand the core. And somebody, I watched one video and it says people take a core thing like I'm doing right now, and they make that the whole thing. And they don't use the rest of the scriptures to balance it out. Well, what is there to balance out? By this shall all men know that you're my disciples, if you love one another. If you love only those that love you, you are no different than anybody else. I tell you, you should even love your enemies. Now, it's hard in this world to love our enemies when our enemies rise to the position of governmental authority, supposedly, and take the rights away from everybody else. And Obama and the Bushes and the Clintons and all of these people are absolutely evil in what they're doing. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all of the Illuminati and higher echelon of controllers in this world and would-be rapists of the planet, and they're rapists of children. I mean, it's insane. It's insane, the type of leadership we have, and they're trying to create a world leadership where the world leaders are not elected. They answer to no one. That's the objective of the New World Order. And it has to change, folks. It has to change. And if God doesn't finally get up and start taking action and empowering me and empowering people of an intent that to love each other, that want to bring balance and stability, not by a universal control mechanism, but by a universal principle, a principle of love, a principle of kindness, a principle of not hurting anyone else, a principle of doing unto others as you would have others do unto you. And if we could get there, we could transform the world and the earth and our existence on this planet, and we would probably remove a whole lot of limitations that have been placed on us that don't allow us to travel very freely to other places in the universe at the snap of a finger, and all sorts of other limitations that don't allow us full cognizant ability of our powers, gifts, and abilities that were installed or embedded within our psyche and in our souls from the very beginning of creation. Folks, I don't know what the future holds. If I sound frustrated, you're absolutely right. It's very frustrating for me to live on a planet that's ruled poorly and to try to love a God who seems to refuse to take personal responsibility. Anyway, I do thank you for listening, and bear with me if there's no recording the next couple of days. It's because power has been lost and I'm unable. But as soon as I am able again, I will be back making videos. Thank you for listening, and namaste.